What's up, witches?
Hey, what's up?
I'm Linda Hurd,
I'm John Kane.
and you're listening to Getting Witchy. And today we are actually going to do a couple demonstrations. One of them is of the freezer spell that we mentioned in our last episode. And then the other one is making a
Protection spray.
A protection spray and a high vibes spray. So, what do you want to do first? Do we want to do the freezer spell first, or?
Sure. Well, the freezer spell is basically a very simple spell that. So you could go through the effort of meditating and getting yourself centered and grounded, doing whatever you do to do that, to prepare for this spell, or you could be sitting there reading through something and then suddenly remember that somebody keeps getting in your fucking way at work. And it pisses you off and they need to chill the fuck out. And just go with that energy. Because that's ultimately what you're doing. You're telling them to chill the F out. I do think that it would be a good idea to at least focus your energy. Because if you're thinking, for me, let me speak about me. If I'm thinking about 3 or 4 things, I mean, we all have a bunch of stuff going on in our heads all the time. But if I am not focusing that energy on the topic at hand, then I'm really doing my magic and myself a disservice. Because it's going to be scatterbrained just like I can be. So, yeah, we could do this first because it's going to. It's going to be probably a 5-minute thing. I mean, this is really a simple spell.
Right.
If you've got a situation, whether it be a relative, a coworker, even a friend,
Classmate,
or somebody you don't even know, but you happen to know enough about them that you could write it down to identify. It's a good idea to have a name at the very least, and then have an image of that person in your head. But, you know, maybe the gas station attendant at the Phillips 76. There's still a few around. Or the Chevron. Or the my English teacher in my college course. You know, but them you would obviously have their name. But I'm just saying, as an example, you could be specific in that way and not just say John.
right?
At the grocery store. Because what grocery store, first of all? And there's more than likely more than one John. So you would be targeting somebody that's innocent, which would have, in some views, could have a negative effect on you.
Right.
Because karma. But yeah, so I've got several people, and I mentioned this, I think, in the last one too. Like, I've got a whole library
Of people.
that I want to put in the freezer. And it's literally as simple as what we stated a moment ago. You write their name down. If you don't have, again, repeating myself, I know, if you don't have their full name, and say title, if they have one, then a description of the person, and what they do. And then write down on that little piece of paper what it is you want them to do. Leave you alone, chill the F out. Usually that's the most, just chill out. Like,
right.
Stay in your lane, and I'll stay in mine, and chill the F out. Which is basically what I'm doing here today. Just stay in your lane, don't interfere with me and mine, and leave me alone. And as I said, I have several, and I'm not showing you the names, obviously. That would be stupid. But yeah, several that I'm actually going to write down now. Okay. You can.
And while he does that, the first instance of this spell that I came across was actually in a book called Teen Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. She refers to it as the Frost Giant spell, where basically you invoke the Frost Giants to come to you and sit on the person that's bugging you. After about...
I like that. Unless they're kinky, they might enjoy that.
And it's to help that person leave you alone. Like, it freezes them out of your life, gets them to leave you alone. And after about probably the 10th time I used that spell, as it's written in her book, the Frost Giants came, they showed up for me and they did what I asked them to do, but they also told me that I no longer had to invoke them. That basically anybody I put in the freezer is going to be taken care of. So, I don't have to go through the whole ritual of calling them to me and asking them for something. They're just like, you're good.
I've never done that. Should I do that?
If you want to, but you don't have to. Because I
didn't feel it was necessary the first time I did it.
I kind of taught you, didn't I?
Yeah.
But yeah, their reasoning was that everybody I had put into the freezer up until that point, it was justified. It was somebody who was seriously making my life miserable, or the life of somebody I love miserable. And so they were like, hey, we'll just take care of it from here on out. So I no longer have to invoke them. Basically, all I do is just put the person in the freezer. And it doesn't require much. You need a small piece of paper. I use a Post-it. And I'll usually write down the person's name, as much information about them as I can get. So, if I know their birthday, or even if all you have is the license plate number of their vehicle, whoever drives this vehicle, that's been enough to work for me. You need a little bit of water, you need a container to put them in, and then you need a freezer. That's really all it takes.
And, I'd like to add, and the reason I asked about the ritual aspect of it was, I do enjoy ceremony. Oftentimes, granted, my experience is kind of limited because I've allowed myself to get sidetracked, as I think we talked about in the first episode. I've allowed myself to get sidetracked in terms of doing ritual and ceremony, but magic is still happening every day. From the studying and reading that I've done and my own, again, semi-limited experience, the ritual or ceremony part of it, excuse me, is, for lack of a better way to put it, it's to build energy.
Yes.
It's to build that energy.
Right.
The shamans, and because Wicca is described by some as a shamanistic religion, because the shamans of old were the original. It didn't matter male or female.
Right.
The shaman did not dictate that you were male or
right.
You were just the magical one in the village. They use drums, they use bells, they use tambourines, which is a combination, obviously. Right. They used the natural sounds and things that could make beautiful sounds to draw that energy. They show it. It wasn't very much in a kind way, but like the Native American, dancing around the fire, and things like that. But to my point, I've learned you don't have to do that to build the energy. the energy's already within you.
Right.
It's just focusing that energy. I mean, you can pull energy from around you if you practice elemental magic and drawing, because at any given time, I mean, yes, you have air, but you also have fire and water and earth at any given time surrounding you. So you could draw from them. But I'm getting sidetracked. The ritual isn't necessary. I would have liked to have done that, though, at least. Maybe I still will. Just to do it.
Just to do it the way it was written?
Yeah. I think that would be cool as shit. And maybe we do that on one of the episodes.
Maybe.
Tell us what you think if you like to see that.
And you are correct. Ritual is one of the 8 main ways to raise energy. The other ones, things that he had mentioned, drumming, dancing, chanting, visualization and meditation are also good ways to raise energy for a spell. There are 3 that I have heard of that didn't really start getting talked about a lot until recently, like the past 5 years. When I first heard about them, there was only one person who ever talked about it, and all they really gave was like a little 2-paragraph blurb about each one. One of them was use of hallucinogenic substances like flying ointments, ayahuasca, stuff like that. One of them,
my attention.
One of them was using sexual energy.
Oh, we've done that.
And yes, we have. And the third one was they refer to it as blood magic, but the description of it was not bloodletting, it was more blood flow control. So, like if you snap your hand with a rubber band, the area that the band hits turns red. That's because you've broken capillaries under the skin and blood is rushing there. Blood flow control magic would be on a much grander scale. So, like in some practices, you have like the the scourge, the use of the scourge, the whipping.
Oh yeah.
You know, across
they
the
talked
back.
about that in that movie, the Da Vinci Code. Well, they showed it.
Yes, yes.
That
The guy was
psycho-priest
self-flagellating.
Yeah. Sounds like a fart.
But anyway, it would be something along the lines of that, because basically what that does is it draws the blood away from the brain into other parts of the body, and it pushes you into an altered state of consciousness. But again, not very many people were talking about either of those last 3 until recent years. So now that you are... Yeah, I would say so. All right, so now that he's got all his people written down and what he wants to happen, we have this little Rubbermaid container. It already has water in it. You can use any type of water you want. This is just tap water.
But we're going to top it off. We
Yes.
just happened to have some... We made moon water last night because it was the supermoon. The last one of 2023, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had a half a gallon of distilled water and realized we hadn't made moon water in a while.
Yes.
I like keeping moon water in the fridge and then like taking a sip in the morning or something. It does more than just a cup of cold water. You know,
Right.
drinking that in the morning.
It gives you a little bit of a buzz, like a caffeine buzz.
Unfortunately, I forgot it was in there, and it started getting, you know how water gets the
Yeah.
flavors of the refrigerator? Yeah, so I had to dump it out. So, anyway,
So once you write the people's names down and all their information as much as you can, you fold up the paper as small as you can get it. You put it in the container and immerse it in water. I like to use these little Rubbermaid containers because they came in a set that my mother gave me, and what the hell else am I going to do with them? I mean, if we didn't use them for this, then we would most likely just toss them out. And I don't like putting glass in the freezer because you have to make sure of certain things to make sure it doesn't explode in your freezer. So when you're ready, you put them in the water, you submerge them.
Because it takes a little bit, obviously, for paper to
soak up water.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna top them off. And then you put the cap on it.
Yeah, I will in a sec. Problem with having so many, it's a big piece of paper, it wants to float.
Oh, there we go.
Got it wedged. And then I'll just put them in the freezer.
And as long as you leave them in the freezer, then whatever you want to happen will happen. If you take them out, or if something happens and they thaw out, then
you have to redo it.
Then that leaves you open for them starting their crap up again, and then you have to redo it.
It popped up to the top.
Ah. Well, it'll sink eventually. So anyway, that's the freezer spell. If you ever hear me refer to shoving someone in the freezer, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the first time she ever said that to me, I swear to God, I was like, what the fuck? I got a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, you've gotta, I looked for the deep freeze. I looked for a freezer. And she happened to have one, but it was covered with stuff, so I couldn't look at it.
Well, you're not the only person who got scared the first time I mentioned that to them. A friend of mine, his name was Brian. He passed away in 2021, shortly after my mom and dad did. First time I ever mentioned it to him, we were talking face to face, and he got this really confused and really concerned look on his face.
Right.
And he had to ask me to explain, and when I told him, he's like, oh. He's like, I thought you, like, actually pushed someone into a freezer. Like, you know, at a restaurant, the big walk-ins.
The meat hook freezers.
All right.
To our magic.
To our magic.
Success.
And to our viewers and listeners.
So, now, that's it. I mean, you put them in there and forget it. It's done.
Yep.
You just...
Set it and forget it.
Right. Set it and forget it. And trust that the magic is doing its thing. See?
Yes. Definitely trust that the magic is doing its thing.
Yeah, and I mentioned, I think, on the first one, like, Wicca or magic. Not Wicca, because we're talking about magic now. Magic does not require the other individual believing in it for it to do anything.
Right.
It does, however, require your belief.
Yes.
If you cast doubt on what you're doing, or are unsure if it's going to work, or, you know, this is really something a hereditary witch should probably do, you're putting negativity onto it. And if it does work, it's not going to be as powerful.
Right. Another thing about that, though, is, and I see this a lot in the witch groups on Facebook, and I know they mean well, but if you cast a spell and then you sit there saying, I hope it works, you're putting doubt into your spell work, which means it's not going to be, if it does work, it's not going to be as powerful as it would have been if you said, I know this is going to work, or I believe this is going to work.
So one thing that I started doing when I got into, I just threw myself in, I was single for like 8 years. So had a lot of free time. But the last, 4 years or so of it, I really threw myself into studying, and I got my Book of Shadows, but it's more or less, for me, it's like all I wanted to know about magic and Wicca. I started writing some spells, and I know that books and movies love rhyming. It doesn't have to, though.
No.
Okay. I have found it relatively easy, for the most part, to be able to make spells that rhyme. I've done a reasonably good job at it. And one thing I noticed is that part of the energy building process is also reciting the spell. And if it rhymes, it just seems to flow better.
Right.
And you can...
There's a rhythm to it.
Yeah, right. There's a rhythm to it, but you can put bass where bass needs to be to emphasize or enhance that energy, or a lower tone if that's what need be. But I totally forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I don't know, but I don't know where you were going with that. But have you ever read The Witch's Read?
Oh yeah, I've got it right here.
So there is a line in there about
the Wiccan Read.
Something about to bind the spell every time, let the spell be spoken rhyme. So I think that's part of why so many people think that it has to rhyme.
Right.
It doesn't have to rhyme. If you can get it to rhyme, great. If not,
I think, and I just remembered where I was going with that.
You can do haiku.
Right. Bless you. One of the things that I did as far as writing a spell when I complete a spell is I wrote a spell to help me for when I complete a spell. And that is, by the light within and divine power too, may my magical works and spells come true. I'm putting it out there that I want my magic to work.
Right.
So, and I'll just randomly do that sometimes throughout the day. I don't know why. I'm going to go check what that noise was.
Okay.
Since my motorcycle's out there.
Right. All right. Well, while he does that, I will move on to the demonstration of making the protection spell, or the protection spray. So this is what I have left from what we already have, and I'm basically just going to top this off. So it uses 2 different essential oils and then a little bit of water. So I have Idaho Blue Spruce, which I got from Young Living. As far as I know, they're the only company that has this particular one. And it's the highest vibrational oil around. It vibrates even higher than rose oil. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to put 7 drops of that in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we use rosemary. And we're actually going to do 8 drops of rosemary.
Now, this is the recipe that you would normally use to make a fresh one, correct? Or are you reducing the recipe just because you're topping it off?
No, this is actually for the full recipe. And then this is a 2-ounce bottle, but as you see, I've already got some in here. So I'm just going to top it off with a little bit of water.
That's distilled moon water.
Yes, distilled moon water. And you can add a drop or 2 of vegetable glycerin to help them bind to each other, because water and oil do not mix. But if you add something like vegetable glycerin to the oils before you add the water, then they'll mix a little bit better.
But just shake them up.
But yeah,
like,
I mean, you basically just shake them. Shake it really good. Shake it like you want to break it. Don't look at me like that.
What? I'm watching you. I didn't look at you any kind of way.
So we're going to top it off to about there, the top of the shoulders. I'm sorry, I thought I heard your eyes roll.
You heard my eyes roll?
And then you shake it. And so what we do with this...
You just told him to shake it like you want to break it, and you just did it like a... Okay. So, that's it for that. Now, this is as she already said, a protection spray. We use this before we leave in the morning. Like, if we're both going to work, we'll spray each other down.
Right.
If it's just me, I usually assume the position. She sprays me down in the front. I turn around. She sprays me down all over in the back. And it's obviously just a mist.
Right.
I mean, I don't even, you can barely see that. It smells pretty good, and it's basically just a for lack of a better way of describing it, a quick cleanse of some holy water.
Yes.
It just cleanses any negativity and keeps any negativity away.
So if you need to, say, smoke cleanse your house, but you're not allowed to use fire, like you're not allowed to burn anything, this is a really good alternative.
You're going to go through a lot of it.
You will go through a lot of it, but it's a really good alternative to smoke cleansing or saging, smudging, whatever you want to call it.
On that topic, are we done with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you're going to sage your home, your office, your car, whatever it is, you want to open up every door and every cabinet, every drawer, every closet. If you can, you want to pull the refrigerator and the stove out a little bit. And you've already opened up every cabinet in the house. Now, I am saying this because I know there's people that don't understand that, you know, yes, it's smoke, and smoke gets into everything, but not enough to do any cleansing. Like, if you've got a dark entity or some dark energy that's infesting your home, as soon as you start burning any kind of sage or incense that's for cleansing, it is going to hide in a back corner. In, like, I know we looked at a house when we were finding this one. Mm-hmm. The son of a bitch, whoever designed the kitchen was an idiot. So they had the corner cabinets, like, they met, but there was an entire, like, what was that, like 8x8 or 8x12 section of corner space.
A corner space that was not used
for anything. I mean, you could look up the and see the ceiling in it, but like it will, the energy will hide in spots like that. It will go behind and underneath the stove. It will hide behind refrigerators. It will find its way into the linen closet or the pantry. Like, open everything.
Yep.
One of the things that I like doing when I do saging is turning the AC up a little bit, or turning it down a little bit lower than normal, so it'll run more constantly, or I could get it to turn on, and just hold the sage stick up to that. Like, it's, first of all, it's getting in, you're covering the house. You're not getting all the closets and everything, like I just said, but like, right, you're getting the initial. So now you just scared whatever dark energy there was into corners. The other thing is open a door or a window.
Yeah, they have to have some way to get out. Otherwise, they're just running laps in your house.
Yeah, you go to one room and chase them out of that room. They're going to another room, possibly one you already saged. So leave a window open, leave a door open, so this dark energy has a way of getting out. And, you know, not everybody agrees with this. I've not had anybody directly disagree with me on this. However, I know how smoke bothers people. I personally like to make the house, if I'm cleansing it, it's gonna look like a weed den. Okay, it's gonna, that scene, that classic scene from Cheech and Chong when they open the door and smoke billow, and what was that? Dazed and Confused, when smoke billows out of the car. That's how I like to sage.
He's not joking. He seriously makes it look like the house is on fire. In fact, we actually set off the fire alarms when we saged this house when we moved in. Oops.
Luckily, they weren't tied to a main panel.
Oh,
it
my
was just
goodness. Yes, it was just the little, you
right.
just pop the battery out.
But yeah, I because our lives, our homes, and our persons are bombarded by the negativity of the world constantly.
Yes. And you never know where you're going to pick up an attachment. I had an attachment come home with me from the airport when I worked there. And I didn't know the spirit. I had no way of communicating with him because from what I was told, he was a gray spirit and they don't talk, and I couldn't see him, but I could feel him. Like, I could feel him putting his ice cold hand on my arm. I could feel him twirling my hair as I'm driving, and I had to have somebody else separate him from me. But you can pick up attachments from anywhere, especially if you're, as I was told, I am a medium, and you have that blue light of comfort.
So you lived that meme.
What meme?
The one that said, it always feels so nice to have someone playing with your hair until you realize you're home alone.
Yes. I lived that meme. Seriously.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you made me think of that.
Yeah, if you get told you're a medium but you don't know how to use that power, because I was never taught how to use that, it can be quite disconcerting, scary to realize that you have something attached to you. And you can pick them up anywhere. Like, they'll find you and just attach. And then you bring them home and then stuff starts happening and then you get scared and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Just like I was, because like...
And you say it just like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no.
I'm just teasing.
No, I was actually very scared, and it made me physically ill. It was like coming down with a really bad cold or flu. Really bad flu is what it felt like. And then as soon as he detached from me and moved on to the other side, then it was like I was immediately better. Yeah, Hollywood doesn't always lie about stuff.
No, they just exaggerate the fuck out of it.
No, they do exaggerate, but they don't always lie. So, what do you want to talk about now, Brian?
How we're going to take over the world. Well, we covered, because we're trying to, like, we don't want to just make these, like, us two buzzed individuals. Well, I'm buzzed. Just talking about random shit, and actually, when this is about getting witchy. Mm-hmm. So, I asked in the last one. I'm going to ask again. Let us know if there's anything you would like to learn about. Of course, and I'm going to say this, you can ask us just about anything, but please utilize your own resources. Yes. One of the biggest complaints that we have with some of our witchy groups are that people ask questions that the answer is literally at their fingertip. They're asking the question on a device they can find the answer to by typing the question into Chrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, What
What is rosemary good for?
What's rosemary good for? I was trying to think of a crystal to say, like what's citrine? What are the ancient uses of citrine?
Of citrine, yes. But there are books out there, and if you need book suggestions, definitely reach out to us, because we each have our own library of books that we would be happy to recommend. If you do have any questions, you can reach out to us either by commenting on the video, or we do have an email address, gettingwitchypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at gettingwitchypodcast. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely reach out to us if you have questions, and maybe we might even answer your question in one of our future episodes.
Well, we'll definitely answer it, at least now. I mean, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, it might be a bit crazy. Hopefully, it's that crazy.
Well, I mean, we don't know what our life is going to look like 5 years from now, but we are working on some things. Like, I am building a clinical herbalist practice. I am currently studying herbalism at the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. If you are interested in herbalism and looking for a really good, intensive herbalism program, I do definitely suggest it. The director, Joanne Sanchez, is incredibly knowledgeable. I mean, she's been doing this for over 30 years. All of the teachers that we have had in our classes have been incredibly knowledgeable. So definitely give that a shot if you're looking into an herbalism education. Oh, I did also want to give a shout out to one of my classmates, because she too has a podcast. If you would like to know what certain herbs are used for or have been used for, not only past and present, there is a podcast called the Plantology Podcast by Natalie and Hannah Clayschult. They're two sisters. Natalie happens to be one of my classmates. So if you're interested in plants and herbs, definitely give that podcast a listen. I've been listening to it every time they release a new episode, and some of the stuff that they find, even I didn't know. Like, I don't even have it in my stuff. And I've been studying and practicing for 26 years now. So for them to find stuff that I haven't come across yet is pretty freaking cool.
Yes. So some of the topics that we could talk about: rituals. Obviously, we've mentioned it a couple times. We talked about spell casting. Now, hey, Maury. Runic magic, runes, candle magic, moon magic, herbology, and she talked about sex magic, and you mentioned divination. I'm interested in that one specifically that you talked about, because I've called down the moon goddess, and that was quite enlightening. So something, I don't know if I ran across this or if this was something that came to thought, but in closing, I'm going to say this, at least closing for me. Human language is spell casting. That's why they call it spelling. In shamanic understanding, all words are spells. Everything you think or say manifests into your reality. When you repeat to yourself or to others that you or they are just not that smart, not that beautiful, worthy, or deserving, you are quite literally casting a spell or cursing yourself or them. You send these thoughts and words and energy out, which in turns brings you to situations to prove that. Be mindful of your words and thoughts, and be mindful of what you say to people. It's just, it goes back to, they've started to touch on this a little bit with, if you tell a child ever since, you can, that he's never going to amount to anything, and he's going to be a loser, and he's a bad person and, blah, 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 what's most likely going to happen in that individual's life? So be kind to yourselves.
Be kind to each other.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. But, fuck everybody. Be kind to yourself first and foremost.
Yes.
Because nobody else is going to be kind to you. Well, hopefully you find that one. At least one. But anyway, yes, be kind to each other. And I hope you guys have enjoyed your weekend. It is October 1st. Samhain's getting even closer.
We got booed today in a good way.
Oh, that.
So my sister Vicky and her granddaughter Charlotte dropped this off on our doorstep today. It's a cute little basket called the Boo Basket. And it's got
Ghoulish green Snickers? Wait a minute.
it has candy and
Oh, it's not.
a
It's
little
chocolate.
hot drink bomb. A couple of them actually, and a couple movies. Hocus Pocus, which is my favorite movie ever.
Go figure. Now I have to eat that since I opened it.
But this was something that my sister owned, some packages of popcorn.
Yeah, don't show that to the kid.
This is a tradition that my sister has started with her granddaughter to help her celebrate Halloween and Samhain. And it's something that Charlotte really looked forward to, and she was a little bit bummed out, I think, that I caught her, but the only reason...
They were trying to
doorbell ditch us.
Yeah.
But I went running out there faster than they could drive off because I wanted to see her and give her a hug and a kiss and tell them both that I love them. I do appreciate them. We both do. And, I just really hope that Charlotte continues to enjoy her new Halloween activities. And hopefully she'll carry them on to her kids.
So, in closing, again, enjoy the remainder of your evening. And I hope you guys have a great week. Stay witchy and stay true to yourself.
Yes.
One love.
And again, let us know if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in our podcast. You can either leave a comment, send us an email, or reach out to us on Instagram.